Okay, welcome back to the next lesson. We want to add some more content to what we had, and there's a line that I added before we started the lesson, which was this one. Let me just explain what this line does. It simply puts an icon. If you remember when we were working with this, we had this icon there. And if we go to our portfolio, I've actually added what is known as a favicon, which in essence is just a favorite icon that you'd like to see there. Okay, so you can actually download these. They're free on the internet, and you'd need something that is at least 16 by 16 pixels high, and it won't be so big. And here's the code that you need to put, where you just put rel shortcut icon href favicon.ico, etc. I'd actually just done it on the index page only. Let me just copy it and paste it for the other pages as well, so that we can have our content being uniform. Okay, so I think when that is done, we are good to go. Okay, so the next thing we want to now do is we want to be able to see what our style sheet does. If you remember, we actually put a style sheet there where it says style.css, and this is our style.css. So in other words, we can actually be able to modify the contents of our page using the style sheet. So we can do it as follows. For example, I can put asterisks, and then I put my brackets. What this simply stands for is just it gives us all elements on the website. So I can then say, maybe for example, font family. I didn't want to choose that. Automatically gave me something. That's not what I wanted to do. So I select, and then it tells you a whole bunch of fonts. I usually like to work with Arial, Helvetica, and Sans Serif, which are pretty much basic. We can also then put font size, where we can choose something that we feel comfortable with. I think medium won't be too bad. We can also say padding. We can make that 0. We can also say margin. We also make that 0. Okay, like that. So if we come back to our page, you'd actually then realize this is the page before we have changed anything. Okay, the first thing we did, we changed the icon, and we also changed the CSS, which is here. Okay, so everything is saved. Let's actually refresh this and see what it does. So you can see now from what we had previously, the icon we had before was this one, but now after I've changed the icon, we've got an icon that looks like that, which then means we've got a different icon there. That's our favicon that we've put. We've also changed the text. The text was a different setup or shape, but now we've got our text looking something like that. So that's all simply because of our all styles here, where we've actually modified our styles. Okay, so now what we then need to do is we now need to add some more styling to the pages. It's not only the first page. Let's actually go through all the pages. So this is the index, that's the about, that's the portfolio, that's the contact. Okay, so it's not only that page, it's pretty much everything now is in the same setup that we had as before. Although I'm not sure why our heading has changed styling. It was not supposed to do that, but anyway, we can pretty much play around with the styling as we proceed. Okay, let's get into maybe another set of styling that we can put. Okay, we can also go to H1 like that. We can also style our H1 and state what we want our H1 to be. Okay, we can then say we want the font size. This particular case, let's actually put a value. Let's say we want it to be 45px. Okay. We also want the letter spacing to be maybe 4px, like that. So in other words, we have actually played around with our heading, which is our h1, and it's also a tag that we've got everywhere, like that. So after doing this, if we refresh, we'll be able to see our h1 now looks a little bit different. Although I don't know if 45 is a good size, maybe we might need to reduce it a bit. Let's maybe put it to 35, like that. So we save it as 35, we refresh. Yeah, looks a little bit better. Looks a little bit better. Okay, we can also play around with the heading as well and put some spacing as well. Padding left, let's put that as 20px. And we can also have a padding right. We can put it as 10px. We don't want it to be too much on the right. But on the left, I think that's fine. Let's refresh. And you then see that we've moved our contacts to the right slightly, and things are looking a little bit better or a little bit different. Okay, so this then means that's how we also work with our CSS to make our page look a bit more appealing or pleasing, as we would say. Okay, let's also get into a different kind of tag as well, a different kind of setup. Let's say we want to have an ID, and our ID, we call it top. Okay, like that. What is an ID? An ID pretty much means we are working with a reference point or a part that we want to see within our website or within our page. Okay, so we can do it this way. For example, the ID can be an ID for our header. In this particular case, we've created top, and top we want it to work for our header. So we simply come to header, we put ID is equal to, we open and we close quotations, then we state that this is our top. Okay, so that we know that if we do anything to our style sheet, we're actually working with our top. So we come to the top, and then we start working with our top and put information based on our top or that matches our top. We then do it as follows. We want to have a margin. Okay, our margin, we want it to be 35 pixels. We also want to have a padding of auto, and then we save it as that. Okay, let's refresh. We don't get to see much because it's still just working with the general setup of our page. But if we go back to the previous one, we had actually put a padding left and a padding right. Okay, so in other words, we had actually specified what we wanted to do to a particular section. Okay, so instead of actually putting it as padding auto, maybe let's specify certain things. Let's say we want 20px and we want 45px, like that. Okay, if we then specify it like that, it then automatically puts 20 pixels on the left and the right and 45 pixels on the top and the bottom. Let's just refresh. Okay, I'm not sure why it's not responding, but it's supposed to give us some info. Okay, maybe let's just do it as 1. Let's do it as 1 and see if it'll. Okay, it's not responding. There could be an issue with my code. Okay, I get why we are not getting anything. We're on the wrong page. Yes, that's why we're not getting anything. My mistake. I'm sorry for that. we're supposed to be on the home page because the home page is the one that we're editing. So in other words, it then means our code here was okay. Let's just put it back. I think we're at 40 here. px, we save it, and then we refresh. There we go. So we are good to go. So in other words, we can be able to play around with our padding and things like that. Although I think 45 is a bit on the high side. Let's remove this and make it maybe 10. Like that. We refresh. And it looks something like that. Okay. So in other words, we have put some changes to our text. We can still proceed to make more changes. For example, with our top, we can then say outside of this top, we want to modify an element within top, and the element that we want to modify within top is the li element. Okay, with the li element, we want to be able to display the items in line. We also want to be able to put a padding of 10 px. We also want to be able to have a margin here on the left. We want this to be 5 px. We also want to have a background color. Okay, let's say we want our background color. I'll just pick a color here and see how it looks. Maybe dark orange. Okay, let's just leave it at that. So we've actually put these as our elements. If we come back and we refresh, we then actually see that we have changed the appearance of our links. So now they're displayed in line, and they've got a background color, and they've got a space in between, which is our margin. Okay, our margin, we had actually put it as 5. Let's actually put our margin as 0, like that. Come back, we refresh. Okay, now it's looking a little bit better, but we still have this small little space that right there. Let's come back and let's also put our padding to maybe 1 px. Let's see how that looks. Refresh. Okay, so the padding was actually giving us more. All right, let's take it back to 10. Okay, so that's pretty much how it looks. So as we proceed, we'll actually just be playing around with this until we get a general feel of how this works and how we can actually put more content to our given website or to our given portfolio of things that we will be needing to learn. However, when we then go to the other pages, like you see, they're not consistently following what we've got. Why is that? Okay, the reason why our pages don't follow suit is we've actually only implemented the changes to the first page, which is the home page. For us to then see the exact same changes to all the pages, we just need to copy line 8 as it is. We come to contact, we paste line 8, we go to portfolio, we paste on line 8, we go to about, we paste on line 8. We can then save all, and then now when we refresh, we can actually now be able to see the same content or the same setup in all the pages. Okay, so that pretty much gives us an idea of how we work with our CSS and how we work with our HTML. Okay, there's still more to learn, But as it stands, we'll just be doing our content step by step. Okay. The next thing that we now want to do is we want to maybe work on individual pages and do certain things on individual pages, because we know that each page will not necessarily have the same content. Okay, so for example, our about page should tell us more about the individual who we are dealing with. Our portfolio page should give us some of the information that this person has actually done. Our contact page should give us, well, maybe a form or something that we can work with so that we get to contact this individual or get to see where the various options that they've got for us to actually interact with them. Okay, so let's go to our home page. Okay, our home page, pretty much like we said, is the index page. We then want to be able to put some content on this page. Okay, so let's say like we said, this is a portfolio website. Since it's a portfolio website, we want to know what this person is about. And the easiest way is to maybe get a lorem ipsum and have some code and what have you. That would make it easier, but let's try and make it a little bit more personal. Okay, so maybe we need an introduction where the person says, hello, my name is Samson Kurai Banda, like that. Okay, I am a professional soccer coach. I have at least 5 years after school experience. Please feel free to navigate my website and see some of the work I have done so far. Okay, so that's pretty much what this website is about, or what this guy wants to tell us about himself. Okay, so we've actually used another tag, which is the p tag, and this is what we've actually typed out in our index. Okay, so after saving, we can come back to our page, we refresh, and we see how the content looks like. Okay, hello, my name is Samson Banda. I'm a professional soccer coach. I have at least 5 years after school experience. Please feel free to navigate my website and see some of the work I've done so far. Okay, so that's pretty much what they're saying, and it's not a problem. Okay, so as you can see, there's also a little bit of some clutter here. The content is not necessarily in a manner that is pleasing. Okay, would want to maybe put some space, make it look a bit more appealing and nice and things like that. That's the beauty of CSS. So we can then be able to modify certain elements or modify certain things about our website. Okay, so for example, let's say we want to change the paragraph tag. Okay, so we can come back to our styles, and maybe before our top, because we want to have our original tags, which are the ones that we haven't created ourselves, more or less in the same manner. or rather around the same spot in our page. Okay, so we want a padding. Maybe let's make our padding 25 px. Maybe let's make our margin left, let's make that 20 px, something like that. Okay, we can save that, we refresh, and you see our content looks a bit better now, and we have shifted to a certain extent. We can also do the same for this one that's now left by itself. We can then say this is a p tag, put a p tag right around the PHP content, so that at least we can have some sort of uniform setup. Okay, that's a little bit better, and we can see that our page is somewhat getting to take shape. Okay, we can still be able to modify most of these things as we proceed. This is the beauty of CSS. It's not very important for you to learn about CSS in this particular learning, because we just want you to know how we can work with our PHP, how we can work with our HTML, so that we can create web projects that will be based on the two. Okay, so we'll just be touching on certain things as we proceed, so that at least you can see how those things can be made, modified, and changed as we go through our lesson.